Hello everyone, welcome to the shop. My name's Kevin Cheney and this is my blacksmith shop, Red Maple Forge, and today is Tool Tuesday. Now, this one, it's not necessarily a blacksmith tool, but anyways, it is a small anvil or striking block. So, one of my fellow vendors that come to the medieval shows has these little coffin shape ashtrays. I'll show you on the other camera. Probably be easier. So it just looks like this. Anyways, what she wants to be able to do is strike and like chisel work and hand stamping on the front here, but unfortunately she doesn't have any blocks that will fit nicely underneath here so she can strike. So that's what we'll be doing today. And the steel I'm using is actually a piece of forklift tine, or 4140. It's actually one of my hammer blanks, so it kind of looks like this. It's a 3-pound chunk. I don't need that much, but it's the only piece I have cut right now. So it's already in the forge because it is a big chunk. And if you can kind of tell, my secondary camera is set up on the press because we're going to be using the press today. It's a lot of steel to move, so I kind of want to move it as quickly as possible. Now, unfortunately, my blank right at this point in time doesn't fit in the normal holes of the forge, so I have to open this big door when I get to it. So we'll get that heated up. Now, if you're new to the show, you'll know that I said Tool Tuesday. So every Tuesday I make a tool. Normally it is blacksmith related. This one kind of a little bit stretching for that. But this is a commission piece that she wants me to make, and seeing the show is in like 2 weeks. I think maybe I should get it to her. Actually, I'll be meeting up with her at the show to actually do the exchange. Another thing I'm going to be doing is I have to fix her hammer. I made her a hammer very similar to my ball peen hammer. It was actually one of the 3 that I made. Hers is a little bit lighter weight, smaller handle. Well, unfortunately, it has come a little loose on the handle, so I'm gonna re-wedge it with a steel wedge on top of the normal wooden wedge that I use, and hopefully that tightens up. So yeah. So we get that piece going, get it hot. I got the forge around 10 psi right now. We'll see how long it takes to heat up between heats. I might tweak it ever so slightly up. So this is actually going to be quite a small anvil block, and I will be using my calipers to measure this. Now, if you've been on this channel a couple of times, you'll know that I don't like grinding. I prefer to do as much forging as possible and get to the forge, like forge ready kind of thing, like as close as possible, because I don't want to grind. Now, unfortunately, because this is going to be such high tolerance, or I want it to be high tolerance, I will be doing a little bit more grinding than I normally want to, but that's okay. It's okay. Big thing is it's got to fit underneath the lid for that coffin ashtray. So, yeah. So I probably should have started this chunk of steel a little bit sooner. I normally would probably start with a smaller piece, but the only other piece of tool steel that I know exactly what steel it is like a bigger round chunk. I think it's like 1.5 inches or something like that. So yeah, I could have used that, but I already had this cut, so we'll get to it. So on the press, we got our flat dies first. I probably one day should make a set of drawn out dies. I really don't have them yet. So we'll use the flat dies. We'll just kind of slowly nibble at it and work it down that way. All my drawn out dies draws out widthwise and not like lengthwise. So, you know, it is what it is. Normally, because all those dies are made for when I do hatchets and axes and I want to separate, like spread that blade out. So, I really don't have ones that go lengthwise. And I should fix that, but that's a future video. I am going to crank up the forge ever so slightly. We'll go up to 15 psi because already I'm getting impatient. So if you didn't know, I stream on both YouTube and Twitch. Usually I start around 1:30 Eastern time. Today was a little bit sooner than that, but you know, that's okay. Like I said, on Tuesdays I make a tool. Wednesday, Thursday is kind of up in the air. Wednesday, if I need to finish a tool, so if I'm doing a hammer or something like that, I need to like heat treat it, handle it, I'll do it on Wednesday. Thursday I normally keep with like restocking my regular stock. And then Friday I usually try and do something with a drop piece of steel. That wood rack back there has all my like little tiny pieces that are the leftovers from the bar after I like cut down whatever I need to. So most of my steel comes in around like 10 feet or 12-foot bars. And I slice it up into the bandsaw how I need it, and I usually have, you know, a couple inches here, a foot here, whatever. It goes into the rack, and on Fridays I play with it, and then Mondays usually I do maintenance around the shop, even though yesterday I did not, but normally I try to do it as much as I can. Sometimes I won't have stuff to do maintenance on, or I'm not ready to do maintenance on, so I won't do it. And I'll try and keep on remembering to change the camera to my press while I work it. Now I'm not going to need all this steel. This is way too much for what I need. But, like I said, this is the piece I actually had cut. So I'm just going to slowly nibble this down to a size that I want. So, talking about my press, it is a 16-ton little beast that I've made myself. All the parts for it actually came from Princess Auto, except for a couple of fittings that I needed for the hydraulics. Everything else basically came from Princess Auto, which is the Canadian Harbor Freight, if you didn't know. Yeah, so it's 16 ton. It's a little bit slower than I really would like on it. I am looking to upgrade the motor so I can have a variable speed motor. That way I can control the speed a little bit better. Right now the pump is actually running at half the speed it can. So, you know, bumping it up might be a little bit nicer. Especially when I'm working with this bigger steel. Getting that extra speed with squishing, especially on the second stage. So the pump is a 2-stage. So that means when it's not under pressure or light pressure, it'll move faster than when it starts getting under pressure, and then it really slows down. It gears down a little bit, and it slows down to get that extra pressure. And why I went with a 16-ton is because my power in here, I'm limited to the size of motor I can actually put in here. My whole system is only 60 amps, 220. So I have a little bit of wiggle room with what I have right now, so I can go to a 3-phase variable speed motor, but I couldn't go with a bigger cylinder without sacrificing that speed, and I'd rather have the speed with a press than the tonnage. And I know that for a fact because I used to have one of those little tiny air-assisted bottle jack presses. That's one of the first presses I made, and that thing, it was bad. By the time you work in how much wear and tear that put on my air compressor to run, and how slow it was, I should have just built the hydraulic press right away. And now with more and more companies, well, you know, with Iron Coal Works making presses in the States, I don't know if it's actually very cost efficient anymore to make a press yourself unless you're doing customized. Now, when I made this press, I actually did figure out the cost of my hours into the whole price. And yes, it was cheaper for me to make this press than it was to buy one. Solely because all the presses, well, the majority of presses out there that are mass produced, well, it's basically just Coal Iron Works that like kind of mass produces them. I'll be shipping it in from the States, and by the time I work out the freight on that, it was cheaper for me to build it myself. With that said, there are probably some little kinks and little weirdness in my press that I wish wasn't, that probably wouldn't be there with you know, a company that's already done a lot of research and development, like Coal Iron Works. So it is what it is. And the reason why I went with a press as opposed to just buying a power hammer, my concrete pad is only about 3 to 4 inches thick. So it couldn't handle actually a power hammer of any size, even like a 25 pounder. I would have to dig up a section of my concrete pad and isolate it and pour a new pad in that small section where the power hammer is going to be. And I think you need at least 12 inches or a foot. again, by the time you add up all the money and all that, I just did a press. Also, I don't do a lot of custom work. So one of the reasons why I actually made a press in the first place is so I can make hammers, axes, as well as some other tools. Where if I was doing more custom work, I probably would have justified buying a power hammer. Right now I'm drawing this out so it's a particular thickness. This doesn't have to be necessarily too thick. So it doesn't need to be the 1.5 inches that it was already. So I'm bringing it down to probably a 1/2 inch first. I'm also keeping an eye on my width. I don't want to go too wide and then have to bring it back in and it goes, you know, all squishy like. Because I need it to fit in here. So I think that's like, actually, what is that? Get my calipers out. So 33.5 millimeters, or what, 1 1/3 inches. So I definitely want to make sure that I keep with that, and I'm actually going to be getting out a pair of all steel calipers. This is just in inches, so. It's an old Craftsman set. I don't even know where I got them from. I got them from somewhere. It might have been my grandfather's actually. So I'm gonna take the widest spot, add a little bit to it, just so if I need to grind, I can grind. I don't want to go too big though. We'll keep those over there for now. That forge is hot. So I am starting getting a little bit of a rumbus on here. So I'm going to try and straighten it up a little bit before going too much further. Now it can fit actually in the side of the forge, so it's a little bit nicer. That way I don't have to heat up the whole piece. gonna open my door because it's starting to get a little warm in here. Now again, when I'm pressing, I'm not trying to get that last press in when the steel is really cold. Now this is 4140, so it's not as terrible as when you get to the higher carbon content. But I know with my spring steel, if I get that, try and get that last little squish when it's already cold, it starts getting cracks in it. So that is one thing I've experienced myself, and I know other smiths that use a press all the time, that you got to make sure that you're not pressing when it gets too cold, because you can cause cracks and fracture in the steel, and sometimes they don't actually show up until you're almost getting to the end of forging, and then all of a sudden they'll just bust open. I was doing a hammer, I think it was a hammer, or something, with some good spring steel. And I got maybe 3/4 of the way working on it. And then I started drifting that eye a little bit bigger, and then there's cracks everywhere. And the only thing I can figure out with it, because I've used that steel before, no problem. The only thing I can figure out about it is I worked it too cold in the press. Now that I'm only heating up a small section, it shouldn't take much to keep going on this. Again, I got a little bit of a rhombus, so I am trying to get that out. And if you don't know what a rhombus is, it's just basically the square is not square anymore. So I got basically the thickness I want. And I'm just going to check the width. So I get my calipers out, and I got to check a little bit. So I thinned it out a little bit too, it's not wide enough. So I am going to go, I did leave enough material, I left enough material for like we'll call it the height of it. So I can squish it a little bit more just to get that extra little bit out of it. I'm roughly about a 16th of an inch shy, 2 millimeters of where I need it to be, which is okay. So I'll get it to that. I'll get it to the width I want. And then we got to start shaping it a little bit more. That is good. I'm gonna go back in, and I gotta do a die change. I'm gonna put on a pair of gloves because these dies will be warm. And the dies I'm switching out to, these are dies I've specially made for doing cross beams. So they're just a little angle on them. And they're a matching set. That was really hard to do that. So, which one's the top and which one's the bottom? Uh-oh. I made a small tweak on my press not that long ago. So, I guess I haven't used this die since then. So it is a little bit too wide. So I will quickly grind it down so it will fit in. I had to re-weld the piece on my bottom dies, and like I said, I haven't adjusted some of my dies yet for that. And yeah, I should have checked that. Come on. Wow. Okay. Ah, that'd be good enough. Or should be good enough. So why I changed up my dies is I want to do this. Close it up. This is kind of a little bit slender, tapered down. So I'm using these dies to do that little taper down. Now these dies are not exactly what I need from an angle point of view. So I'm kind of just ever so slightly going a little bit past what I think I need. And then we'll clean it up afterwards. Hopefully I didn't jam the other die too much in there. So before I put this back into the forge, I'm actually going to be checking with my caliper how I'm doing. So I'm grabbing the distance on the bottom, just checking. So we're pretty well right there, which is good. And I hope I didn't jam this. Oh, no. That'll come right up. So now I'm switching back over to the flat dies. Which still have some good heat in them. We're just going to do some rough cleanup. Getting quite a bit of scale. So I'm just going to clean off some of that while I'm here. I'm going to have to take that taper up a little bit more than what it currently is. Like I said, the angle that I use for my cross pins is not the right angle for this. So I'm going to take a measurement with my calipers, so I know how far I have to go with my taper. And we're pretty well done with the press because everything else can be done by hand, or I should say will be done by hand. I already had my 2-pounder out. I'm not going to really getting the 3-pounder because right now it's just finessing what I already have started, make it a little bit more presentable. So again, I'm just refining that taper a little bit more. Probably actually there. Just going to do a little bit of cleanup work and straightening. Going to use my calipers to double check all the sizes before moving on. So that's roughly there. So I did lose a little bit of width that I would like to get back. So I still have enough material from a height point of view. So I am going to actually just quickly take it to the press to spread it out just ever so slightly more. And we should be good from that point of view. I have to stop closing this thing because it's new. This one's new, so opening it is kind of a pain in the butt. So I'm going to take the widest point of this and go everything else by that. That should have it. So I'm just going to go double check all my sizes again. Yep, that looks good. So I'm going to let that, actually I'm going to heat it up ever so slightly more. And then I'm going to allow it to normalize at the anvil. Actually, I'll probably put it somewhere other than the anvil. So so I can do other things. Just set up some fire bricks by the post vise, just so I can leave this sitting over there and cool down a little bit. If I can get my tongs out. Okay, there we go. So now that that is nice and cooling off over there, I got other things to do while I waited it to cool down. Because we still got a little bit of time. We got a lot of time, actually. So one of the other products that I do, that's going to be right out of what are you talking about, Kevin? Why do you do this? So I got little shields that I plasma cut out. Yes, I plasma cut. These guys, after getting my touch mark, they get wire wheeled buff to a nice clean steel, and then I laser engrave a design on them. So I'll take inspiration from shields of old. So either be it, you know, a dragon or a lion or something like that, a horse, the fleur-de-lis. And what I will do is laser engrave them. After they're laser engraved, they come back out in the shop and they're bent a little bit into a curve. They get a nice leather strap given to them, and they're basically wall hangers. This is something I started only doing last year, and every show I go to, I sell at least one. So one of the reasons why I'm heating them up is I get hot rolled, so I have the mill scale all over them. Also, I want to put my touch mark in them, but that mill scale that comes on sheet metal, that is tough to get off from a wire wheel. So I found even heating them up just enough to get a little bit of the scale from the forge on it will loosen the scale that's from the mill off of it, so it makes a wire wheel a lot easier. These guys, before I wire wheel, I probably will just put them in acid or vinegar for a day or two. That also helps with getting the scale removed from them. So we got two things going on right now. These guys I don't heat up all that much. Just basically, you know, your red, orange kind of color. They don't need to go any hotter than that. Sometimes they get that hot when I forget about it, which does happen. And the touch mark I'm using is just, actually I made this like 6, 7, 8 years ago. This is actually a negative of the maple leaf on my logo. And I made that to make my whole logo in a touch mark, which unfortunately has worn out too much to be used now. But my stuff, like my dishes and stuff like that, will get this touch mark on it until I get a new one laser cut for me. Yeah, I can't bring myself to spending the time to file a new one. Because if I recall correctly, when I first did that for a video, it's one of my first videos, I think I was in it maybe 3-4 days of file work. So I can't justify doing that anymore. Not when so many guys have lasers that can do a far better job than I could. Actually, is this my touch mark? Oh yeah, this is my touch mark. This is my touch mark. And as you can see, it's just been beat up and abused way too much. It still is fine for some bigger stuff, hammers and axes that I can actually use the press to punch it in. It still shows up okay, but any small stuff like this, no, it doesn't show up right. So yeah, I plan on getting a full logo remade, as well as my little maple leaf, my artistic maple leaf. Oh, got it backwards. But I'll be getting the maple leaf made the correct way, the same way that it is on my logo. Depending on where I hit the stamp on the anvil, it sometimes does too much of an imprint on the opposite side. So that's why you saw that one. I flipped over and hit it back down. My anvil does have a small curve to it, right in the middle. Just the 100+ years of use has caused that. Yeah, that's got really warm. When I do these plates like this, normally the forge is not as hot as it currently is right at this point in time. So pulling them out is usually not that much of a pain. So at this point, I'm not going to need the forge for a while. So I'm going to actually put that piece of steel I was working on for the anvil into my vise right now, as best as I can. Put the fire bricks to the side right now. And I'm going to measure it up so I can actually cut it. And I'm just going to cut it with a zip cut with an angle grinder. Gonna put you in a place where you're not gonna get hit, or the camera won't get hit. I am going to cut it a little bit longer than I really need. Just going to take a speed square just to kind of, oh, I guess I should put it on the side that I'll actually be able to see when I'm grinding. There you go. So we'll get the angle grinder going with a zip cut. And hopefully it doesn't take too long to cut. Something like this I normally would just chuck up in the bandsaw after it's cold. I'm just going to take it and quench it, just so I can handle it. Because now I got to do my layouts. I'll get the chunk that I don't need out of the vise and out of the way. Okay. I'm grabbing a a Sharpie. Where did my Sharpie go? Okay. I lost my Sharpie, so I have to grab a new one. And hopefully it works. So now I'm just going to do my layouts on this. Apparently I left quite a bit actually left on there. So I don't feel like grinding all that much. I could, but I think I'm just gonna get my, just gonna zip cut it. And I'm gonna put a respirator on though. Cut's a little off, but a lot closer to what I need. So at this point, I gotta go. I did not prepare. I gotta go grab my little, oh, yeah, I could do this by hand. Wow, when I say by hand, I mean with angle grinder. I'm going to use a flap disc for this part. Just because I don't want to be too aggressive with taking this down. It's actually really close to where I need it to be, so I don't want to go too far and then have to start all over again. Well, I actually got it pretty pretty darn close to where I need it. And I'm just checking to see how flat it is. But yeah, that is pretty close to where I need it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start cleaning up both the front and back of it. One side will be a little bit cleaner than the other. I do plan on polishing one side to almost mirror finish, if not mirror finish. The reason why I'm going to do that is when you use this as a anvil, if you have any dings, or even like if you have a little bit higher grit sand marks in it, like even 220 will show up on the backside after stamping. Now, because I need to hold this in my vise, but it is kind of small, I'm going to be grabbing one of my strong magnets on a stick. It's actually a pair of magnets on this one. Just a pair of magnets screwed onto a piece of 2x4. And I started doing this with wire wheel and stuff, just to be able to be more consistent with when I wire wheel, to actually what's the word I'm looking for? Get the direction of the wheel going all the same way. It just looks a little bit nicer, I think. So they get stuck on there. Maybe I'll move you in closer. Now I bought a pack of these magnets from Amazon. Actually came with screws. They were too small, but anyways. The only thing I will say with the magnets is don't screw them down too hard. They do tend to crack. These guys have cracked. They haven't fallen out yet, but I did have another set that did pop out. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go on the top and bottom, clean up the scale. Right at this point in time, I'm not worried about getting it perfectly flat. One side has a little bit more forging marks on it than the other side. So the side with the forging mark, that's going to be the downside, so that's going to go like on the workbench. So I'm not going to worry too much about that. Wow, that's hot. Woo! So on the top side, I'm just going to bevel it a little bit. Just so I don't have sharp edges that will cut into whatever piece she is stamping in. Don't mind me, I'm just trying to get some of that heat out of my finger. I got a hole in my glove, and of course that's exactly where you touch the hot steel. Don't worry, I'm not seriously burnt. So now that I got it to that stage, I'm going to take some time right now while it's still pretty soft. Actually, I'm going to quench this because I know it's still hot. And I'm going to check the thickness from both because I want the thickness to be pretty well flat. I will allow some fluctuation from the one side to the other, but I don't want it to be a huge difference from one side to the other. So I'm going to get out my digital calipers. I'm going to check one side and the other. So one side is 11.5 millimeters and the other side is 13.3 millimeters. So I got a little bit of weight to take down on the one side. And I will be doing that on the bottom of this because I have a little bit of extra meat on the bottom. Again, we're not talking much. We're only talking 2 millimeters, not even, so it's not going to take much to get it down that size. I already know that it's going to be relatively flat because my flat dies. So I'm not too worried about it, but it is going to be angled like it is on this. So still got a little bit of ways to go. Got to make sure it's on both magnets or it will spin. Whoopsie. Caught it a little too much. Pushed a little too hard down. It's almost there. Still a little more. Yes, I'm probably taking a lot longer on this than I normally would because, well, I'm doing the stream. And I unfortunately don't have a camera upstairs for my belt grinders to show. It's close. It is close. So it was 0.3 millimeters. I'm gonna say that's pretty good. So this is going to be the good side. So I am now going to start cleaning that up, like I'm going to polishing it. I'm not going to go all the way today to a really high grit because it still needs to be heat treated. So I am going to first start off with, what do I have over here? Oh, those are too high. Okay, so I'm going to start off with 80 grit, bump up to 120 if I can find it. And I'm going to be using a palm sander on this. Just because it gives me nice flat results with doing something like this. So we'll get the angle grinder out of the way. We don't need that anymore. So 80 grit on a palm sander. And hopefully the magnets will hold. It doesn't. So that's 80. Gonna bump up actually right to 220. Normally I would do 120 in between, but I think I'm okay. And right at this point in time, I'm only concentrating on the surface and then a little bit on the bevels. But most concentrated on the surface. And I was keeping an eye to make sure I get those scratches out from previous grit. Most of it, I got most of the angle grinder stuff out with the 80. That's 220. And then I'm going to pop up to 320, and that's probably where I'm going to stop with this. And we'll get ready for the heat treat. Now with this being 4140, should be an oil quench. I might actually check that. I use oil for it. The reason why I'm stopping at 320 is the buffing wheels I have. The buffing wheels I have will actually cut as low as 320. So it'll be fine with it. Ooh. So I'll get that the forge heated up a little bit. We're gonna do a quench. Now I'm not gonna bring my oil tank out. It's all the way back there. For just this one little piece, I don't know if I could justify dragging it out. So as we're waiting for that to heat up, I'm gonna clean up my tools a little bit. Yes, I have a filing cabinet that holds a lot of my tools. You can see it just in the left there on the screen. This thing here. Sanding stuff, a top drawer, saws, air tools, and then welding at the bottom. So for tongs, I'm trying to decide what kind of tongs I want to use, because whatever tongs I decide right now, I don't want it to suck too much heat. I don't want it to suck too much heat out of this when I pick it up to put it in to my quench. Also, I don't want to drop this while I have it out. So, I think in pickup tongs, maybe? I think in my pickup tongs. It'll be a struggle to get it out, but I should be okay. So we'll do the heat treat in a second. Apparently I just bent my key from my cabinet. I bent my key. Yeah, so get that nice and warm. Oh, it looks like a thunderstorm coming in. Oh, and I'm also going to get, I have a toaster oven that I do my temper in with, because I will temper this. So I got to get that ready. And I am going to put this on for 400 degrees or 200 Celsius. And this is not that thick, so it probably will only go in there for probably will do an hour soak in there. So if it was thicker than an inch, I pretty well do an hour soak for tempering with the 4140 for every, so up to an inch, and then every half inch beyond that, I'll do for an extra half hour. Yep, it's gonna rain. Just gotta clean my magnet. So yeah, I do still a very crude heat treat process. I've had good success with this this particular forklift tines. Which should be a 4140. So I'll just check it to see how we're doing. Yeah, we're still not hot enough yet. So we'll go back in a little longer. Now these tongs are spring steel, so I don't want to just leave them sitting there in the forge, get too hot for when I quench. And I should get my oil tank ready. And when I mean ready, I mean just lift up the lid. So the oil tank I'm using, which is jammed in the corner there, is an old 20-gallon air compressor tank. Not sure where I got it from. I bought it, I think it was a yard sale or something like that. Someone had just the tank. So I took it and I cut off the top. Hello, Not Stanley. How you doing today? Well, still, back end still needs a little bit more heat. We're getting there though, it's close. It's close. Oh yeah, that's ready to go. That's ready to go. In the oil. When I quench such a small piece, it's kind of anticlimactic. And I really hope I just don't drop this in here. There we go. All nice and heat treated. I might actually just put it back in for a couple of minutes or just a couple seconds. Make sure I did drop it down below the 400 Fahrenheit. And then this guy, I'm sorry you're not going to be able to see this part, but he is going to go in my toaster oven, and he's gonna have a nice little long stove, about an hour, 400 degrees. I am gonna burn off some of this oil from the on my tongs, because nothing worse than having sticky tongs because of oil. So that pretty well. After that's done, doing the tempering, I'll let it cool. I'll probably do 2 tempers on this. And then, ooh, that oil's burning pretty good. So I'll do 2 tempers, hour long at 400 degrees, 200 Celsius. And then, look at those flames. Yep. And then I'll probably polish, I'll just do the polishing myself. Like I said, it's upstairs. I don't have a camera that can reach there yet. So I'll probably show it when it's all done tomorrow on the stream. But that's pretty well it today. My little tiny small little anvil thingy for stamping in a little coffin. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I know it's a little bit less foraging than normal. But yeah, I'm just going to say thanks for watching. I know a couple of you guys have stayed on all the whole thing, so thank you. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.